129.
Welcome to the Living Homegrown Podcast, where it's all about how to live farm fresh without the farm. To help guide the way to a more flavorful and sustainable lifestyle is your host, national PBS TV producer and canning expert, Teresa Lowe.
In order.
Yeah.
So that's a real thing. Like, so if someone doesn't have chickens, I think that's something that people might not realize, that a pecking order is a real thing in the chicken world. So why don't we talk about that? Because that's probably one of the biggest communication or, hierarchies that they have. So explain to anyone who doesn't have chickens what the pecking order is.
Well, I think most people can relate if they are employed somewhere at a job.
Yeah.
There is a people pecking order and there is a chicken pecking order. The pecking order is only among the hens. The roosters are not involved in the pecking order. And essentially, it's the top hen to the bottom hen. And everybody kind of lies somewhere in between there. There's other jobs within the pecking order, but essentially there's always going to be a top chicken, and there's always going to be a chicken at the bottom. And they sort out this from a very, very early age when they're in their playpen. For people who don't keep chickens, it's called a brooder.
Yeah.
But when they're in the little baby chick playpen, it starts, and you can see them figuring out. And usually the head hen is one of the chickens that is the most intelligent, often the most curious, not necessarily the biggest, but certainly will begin asserting dominance. And the pecking order is usually pretty stable. And once it's sorted out, nobody really challenges one another. The only time that the pecking order really, really gets disrupted is if a chicken is removed, because they have to all sort out where they lie with that chicken gone or missing. If the head hen becomes quite elderly, she will kind of give up her reign, although it's like I guess if a queen, a monarch, was to give up her position, she still wouldn't lose the respect. And that is the same in the flock. They will respect that hen, but some of the younger whippersnappers like to come up and challenge and take the reins. And sometimes the head hen will say, okay. But it's interesting. And you also see that level of respect in the multi-generations too, because people laugh. They say, I have a nursery and a nursing home out there. I've got I've got chickens that are 2 years old, and I have one hen that is, she's almost 8 years old. Yeah, she's old. And everybody just kind of respects her. And she's a very, very small breed. And she's a silky bantam, which for those people listening out there is a little fluff ball. You'll have to do a Google search and look at silky bantams. Her name is Fifi. But, everybody kind of just respects her. And it's very interesting because I wouldn't necessarily think that would be the case. And, there's wisdom that comes with age. And I think chickens understand that and appreciate it. But yeah, the pecking order can also be disrupted if you're adding new chickens in. And so that's why I always tell people, if you're going to be introducing more chickens to your flock, try to introduce more than just one. So 3 or more is always a good number, because then you have some distraction and not everybody's ganging up on one new chicken.
Yes. I think that's a really, really good bit of advice there. So yes, I saw in the book where you talked about the pecking order is usually based on intelligence, which was something I didn't realize. But you also said something about, sometimes certain breeds are not so interested in the pecking order. And I definitely found that with my case, because I have one Polish and I have one Silky, and they don't really see, well, the Polish I always figured, because she couldn't see very well, would never really try to be dominant, but she never really seemed that interested in it. And the same with the Silky. But my Easter egger right now is definitely the dominant one. And you're right. It changed up when my oldest chicken, who had been the dominant one, when she passed, then there was a little disruption, a little, I don't want to say fighting, because it wasn't fighting, but you could definitely see that, a couple chickens were trying to pick their spot and be the dominant one. And then it was decided pretty quickly, though.
Yep. And we have one Easter egger who she's trouble. She's trouble. Her name is Cuddles. She's the furthest thing from a cuddler.
Yeah, she probably got that name before she was an adult. So.
Oh yeah, adorable, so sweet, and those little puffs and those muffs on the side of her face. But she really has a mean streak if she needs to. Tell some of the girls she'd like to be head hen, but I do believe that the head hen is our second Australorp, Molly.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, good. And there was another part that you talked about, which was something I had never realized in. And until next time, just try to live a little more local, seasonal, and homegrown. Take care.